The rain-slicked alley in Queens reeked of garbage and regret, and 16-year-old Alex Harper's blood mixed with the puddles like crimson ink spilling secrets no one wanted to read. His father's boot connected one last time with his ribs, the crack echoing louder than the thunder overhead, as his mother's voice, usually so soft, so laced with church hymns, twisted into a hiss. "You're no son of mine, you filthy sinner." Abandoned there on the cold concrete, Alex curled into himself, the world blurring through swollen eyes, wondering if Dawn would find him alive or just another forgotten stain on the city's underbelly. 14 years later, Alex straightened his tie in the fogged mirror of his Manhattan high-rise bathroom, the steam from the shower clinging to the glass like ghosts he couldn't quite shake. At 30, he was the picture of polished success. Lean frame honed by dawn runs along the Hudson, dark hair cropped close to fend off the chaos of curly rebellion, and those blue eyes, sharp as a prosecutor's gavel, now scanning for any hint of vulnerability before facing the day. He was Alexander Harper, rising star at the ACLU's New York branch, the lawyer who dismantled discrimination cases like a surgeon excising tumors from the American dream. But this morning, as he buttoned his crisp white shirt, a phantom ache bloomed in his side, right where that boot had landed all those years ago. It was the anniversary. He never marked it on the calendar, but his body kept score. The elevator hummed down to the lobby, disgorging him into the symphony of honking taxis and steaming coffee carts that was Midtown at rush hour. Alex wove through the throng, his leather briefcase swinging like a shield, until he ducked into the beanery, a hole-in-the-wall cafe squeezed between a falafel joint and a vape shop. It was his ritual. Black coffee, no sugar, and a moment to pretend the world wasn't rigged against kids like he'd been. That's when he saw him, Jordan Reyes, all broad shoulders and easy grin, leaning against the counter with a sketchpad tucked under one arm. Jordan was the artist in residence at a Soho gallery, the kind of guy who turned subway delays into charcoal masterpieces, his warm brown skin glowing under the fluorescent lights, hazel eyes crinkling with that infectious laugh that cut through Alex's defenses like sunlight through fog. "Large drip for the man who looks like he just won a landmark case," Jordan said, sliding the cup across without breaking eye contact. It was their third encounter this week, fate, or maybe Alex's subconscious rerouting his commute. Last time, it had been a shared umbrella in a downpour. Before that, a debate over the barista's latte art that devolved into numbers exchanged on napkins. Alex took the cup, fingers brushing Jordan's just long enough to spark something electric. "Guilty as charged. Though if you're buying, I might have to defend you against charges of bribery." His voice came out steadier than he felt, that old armor slipping just a fraction. They fell into step on the sidewalk, the city pulsing around them like a heartbeat, vendors hawking pretzels, pigeons scattering underfoot, the distant wail of a siren blending with Jordan's stories of late-night murals in Brooklyn warehouses. Jordan talked with his hands, broad and calloused from brushes and clay, painting pictures of vibrant protests he'd documented, faces fierce with demands for equality. "You ever think about how one line can change everything?" Jordan asked, gesturing at a faded rainbow flag fluttering from a fire escape. "Like, that kid holding the sign, 'Boom, history shifts.'" Alex's throat tightened. He thought about lines all the time, the ones his father had crossed that rainy night, the invisible ones society drew around deviants like him. "Every day," he murmured, the words heavier than intended. They paused at a crosswalk, shoulders nearly touching, and for a heartbeat, Alex let himself imagine it. A life where hooks like this weren't harbingers of hurt. By evening, that imagination had teeth. Jordan's text pinged during Alex's subway ride home. "Gallery opening tomorrow. Come see if my lines measure up. 8 p.m. drinks on me." Alex stared at the screen, thumb hovering. It had been years since he'd let anyone in close enough to see the scars, literal and otherwise. But Jordan's grin lingered in his mind, a balm against the anniversary's chill. "Wouldn't miss it," he replied, heart thudding like a guilty verdict. The gallery was a converted warehouse in Soho, exposed brick walls dripping with color under track lighting that cast everything in a romantic haze. Alex arrived fashionably late, shedding his suit jacket at the coat check, rolling up his sleeves to reveal forearms etched with a subtle tattoo. A compass rose, inked on his 21st birthday as a reminder to navigate true north, no matter the storm. The crowd buzzed. Artists in berets, collectors in tailored wool, the air thick with wine and whispered critiques. He spotted Jordan across the room, mid-conversation with a silver-haired curator, his laugh carrying over the indie folk playlist like a lifeline. "Harper, you made it." Jordan extricated himself, pulling Alex into a half-hug that smelled of turpentine and sandalwood. Up close, Jordan was even more disarming. Faint stubble shadowing his jaw, a silver hoop glinting in one ear. "Let me show you around before the vultures descend." They wandered the exhibits, Jordan's voice a low rumble as he explained each piece. A canvas of intertwined hands defying shadows, a sculpture of chained figures breaking free. Alex felt seen, not as the lawyer with the airtight briefs, but as the man who'd clawed his way from that alley. "This one's my favorite," Jordan said, stopping before a mixed-media portrait. A young man with bruised eyes staring out defiantly, rain-streaked streets bleeding into the frame. "Reminds me of stories I hear from folks like you. Fighters." Alex's breath caught. The portrait could have been him that night crystallized in oil and charcoal. "It's raw," he managed, voice thick. Jordan's hand grazed his elbow, a touch both accidental and inevitable. "Tell me yours sometime," Jordan said softly, eyes holding Alex's with an intensity that stripped away the years. "Over something stronger than coffee." They ended up on the rooftop, the city sprawl glittering below like a promise. Wine glasses clinked, and words flowed. Alex skirting the edges of his past, Jordan sharing his own. Growing up queer in the Bronx, a mother who baked empanadas and marched in pride parades, a father lost to the bottle but never to love. Laughter bridged the gaps, turning strangers into something tentative, tender. As the night cooled, Jordan leaned in, lips brushing Alex's cheek in a kiss that lingered like a question. "Stay," Jordan whispered, and Alex, for the first time in forever, said yes. The weeks blurred into a rhythm Alex hadn't known he craved. Mornings tangled in Jordan's sunlit loft, sheets rumpled from lazy explorations of skin and stories. Afternoons stolen in Central Park, Jordan sketching Alex's profile against the reservoir, capturing the quiet strength in his jaw. Evenings at dive bars in the village, hands intertwined under tables, toasting to small victories. Alex's latest win against a bigoted school board, Jordan's mural commissioned for a trans youth center. It was romance distilled. The brush of fingers across a dinner table, the shared silence during a thunderstorm that echoed too close to old memories. Jordan made Alex believe in second acts, in love as a rebellion against the world's rough edges. But the past, like bad debt, always came collecting. It started with a case file on Alex's desk. A class action suit against the NYPD for mishandling hate crimes in the 90s and early 2000s. Routine until he flipped to the appendix. Yellowed police reports from 2009, a familiar address in Queens circled in red. His report, the one his parents had filed not as victims' advocates, but as accusers, claiming he'd run away after family troubles. No mention of the beating, the abandonment. The city had buried it just like they'd buried him. Alex's hands shook as he closed the folder. Jordan found him later that night, slumped on the couch with a tumbler of scotch. "Rough day?" Jordan asked, settling beside him, thigh warm against Alex's. "You could say that." Alex's voice cracked, the hook from 14 years ago reeling him back. He told Jordan everything, the coming out over dinner, the Bible verses hurled like weapons, the fists and the flight into the rain. How he'd crawled to a payphone blocks away, collapsing in an hour where a kind nurse stitched him up and whispered, "You're safe now, kid." How his parents vanished, relocating to Florida with a new narrative. Rebellious son, not rejected queer. Jordan listened, arm around Alex's shoulders, thumb tracing soothing circles. "They don't deserve the air you breathe," he said fiercely when Alex finished, pulling him close. "But you're a goddamn force. And I'm here for it. All of it." In that embrace, Alex felt the fracture mending, love a scaffold for the broken places. But as they drifted to sleep, the case file loomed like a shadow, whispering that truth wasn't buried. It was waiting to be exhumed. The courtroom in Lower Manhattan smelled of polished wood and stale coffee, the kind of scent that clung to Alex's suits long after trials ended. It was mid-October now, leaves turning the parks to fire, but inside these walls, the air was eternal summer, stifling, unyielding. Alex stood at the plaintiff's table, his team of phalanx of interns and paralegals, facing off against the city's attorneys in crisp navy suits. The suit had ballooned. Not just his story, but dozens like it, queer youth erased from records, crimes reclassified as domestic disputes to protect the perpetrators. Alex's deposition had cracked it open, his calm recitation of that night pulling gasps from the gallery. "They left me for dead," he'd said, voice steady as steel. "And the system let them walk." Jordan had been there every step, his presence a quiet anchor. He'd taken to showing up with takeout from that hole-in-the-wall taqueria in East Village, sprawling on Alex's living room floor amid stacks of affidavits, reading aloud in dramatic accents to lighten the load. "Listen to this one," Jordan would say, holding up a deposition from a trans kid in Harlem. "The cops said it was my fault for dressing wrong. Bullshit. You're gonna bury them with this." His faith was infectious, a spark against Alex's doubts. And in bed, with the city lights filtering through blinds, Jordan's touches mapped new territories, gentle explorations that spoke of healing, not haste. "You're beautiful here," he'd murmur against Alex's collarbone, fingers tracing the faded scar on his ribs. "Every mark's a map to who you are." But doubt crept in like fog off the East River. It was during a late-night strategy session that Alex noticed the email, anonymous, forwarded through a burner account. "Ask your boyfriend about the Reyes Foundation. Truth hurts more than fists." Alex stared at the screen, cursor blinking like an accusation. Jordan was in the kitchen, humming while brewing chamomile tea, oblivious. The Reyes Foundation? Alex had heard whispers, a queer advocacy group funded by Old Bronx money, pushing for police reform. Jordan volunteered their graphic designer for their campaigns. Harmless, right? He deleted the email, chalking it up to trolls. The trial heated up, though, and so did the threats. Slipped notes in his mailbox. "Faggot lawyer, drop it or else." A slashed tire outside the courthouse. Alex brushed them off, but Jordan didn't. "This is escalating," he said one night, pacing Alex's apartment, the skyline a glittering witness beyond the windows. "Let me crash here more. Safety in numbers." Alex pulled him down onto the couch, lips meeting in a kiss that tasted of worry and want. "You're not going anywhere," he agreed, but the seed was planted. Who was watching? And why did that email nag like a loose thread? The betrayal hit on a crisp Thursday, 2 weeks before closing arguments. Alex was buried in motions when his lead paralegal, Mia, a fierce dyke with a buzzcut and zero tolerance for bullshit, burst into his office. "You need to see this." She slapped a printout on his desk. An internal NYPD memo from 2010, leaked via an anonymous tip. It detailed a donation from the Reyes family to the precinct that had handled Alex's case, enough to encourage discretion in filing reports. And there, in the margin, J. Reyes, Jr. Liaison, Jordan's father, the man who drunk himself into an early grave, but not before greasing palms to protect his own. Alex's stomach plummeted. Jordan had never mentioned it, had danced around questions about his family's old money, with jokes about Bronx royalty. Was this coincidence or complicity? Alex confronted him that evening, the memo trembling in his hand as Jordan walked through the door, arms laden with Thai takeout. "What's this?" Alex demanded, voice a whip crack in the quiet space. Jordan's face drained of color, bags hitting the floor with a thud. "Alex, it's not what you think." "Explain it, then." They stood in the living room, city hum a distant roar. Jordan sank onto the armchair, head in hands. "My dad. He was messed up. After Mom died, he funneled cash into everything. Cops, politicians, to feel like he had control. The foundation was his redemption play, but that donation, it was before I was old enough to know better. I found out last year when I took over the graphics gig. I cut ties, Alex. Swear to God. But you knew. And you didn't tell me. The words tasted like ash. Trust, that fragile bridge Jordan had helped rebuild, cracked under the weight. This case, my case, is built on exposing exactly this shit. How am I supposed to look at you now? Jordan's eyes glistened, hazel depths pleading. Because I'm not him. I love you, Alex. This us, it's real. He reached out, but Alex stepped back, the space between them a chasm. Love? Or pity? The queer kid from the alley, ripe for saving. The accusation hung ugly and raw. Jordan flinched as if struck. I'd never. But Alex was already grabbing his coat, the door slamming like a gavel. He walked the streets for hours, blocks blurring into a maze of neon and noise. Betrayal burned hotter than any boot, a fresh wound layered over the old. By dawn, he was back at the office, drowning in depositions, Jordan's texts lighting up his phone like flares. Please, talk to me. I can fix this. But fix what? The truth Alex had clawed from the dirt, only to find it tangled in the man he loved? The trial barreled on, a storm gathering force. Witnesses took the stand. Survivors with voices like thunder, cops with averted eyes. Alex channeled the rage, his closing prep a manifesto of fury and finesse. Jordan stopped coming to the courthouse, but flowers appeared on Alex's desk. Anemones, for fading hopes, unsigned but unmistakable. Alex tossed them, petals scattering like confetti from a funeral. Then came the climax, unbidden and brutal. Closing day, as Alex delivered his final argument. The city didn't just fail us. It erased us, trading justice for silence. A disturbance rippled through the gallery. Shouts, scuffles. Bailiffs hauled out a man in his late 50s, wild-eyed and reeking of bourbon. Victor Harper, Alex's father, risen from Florida obscurity like a specter. You lying little shit. Victor bellowed from the doorway, veins bulging in his neck. He ran off. Drugs, whores. The judge's gavel cracked like lightning. Order. Remove him. But the damage was done. Alex froze mid-sentence, the room spinning. His mother trailed behind, frail in a cardigan, face crumpling as she caught his eye. Remorse? Or fear? Recess called. Alex stumbled to the hallway, bile rising. Jordan was there, how? Pushing through the crowd, face etched with determination. I heard. From the tip line. Alex! Not now. But Jordan gripped his arm, voice low and fierce. This is your moment. Don't let them steal it. You're stronger than all of them. Alex searched those hazel eyes, seeing not deceit, but devotion. The memo, the donation, it was legacy, not lie. Jordan had chosen him over blood, over comfort. I need you, Alex whispered, the admission a lifeline. Jordan nodded, pulling him into a shadowed alcove, foreheads touching. Always. They re-entered together, Jordan in the back row, a silent sentinel. Alex faced the bench, voice reclaiming its thunder. My father just proved my point. Erasure isn't passive. It's active violence. And today we end it. The jury deliberated through the night, the city holding its breath. Alex waited in a dive bar with Jordan, hands clasped under the table, the touch of vow renewed. When the call came, verdict in, full exoneration for the plaintiffs, reparations ordered. The bar erupted, but Alex just held Jordan tighter, tears salting their kiss. November swept in with a vengeance, winds howling down Broadway like the city's own reckoning. The verdict made headlines. ACLU triumph. City forced to rewrite queer history, with Alex's photo splashed across the post. Stoic profile, eyes like storm clouds breaking to blue. Interviews piled up, NPR slots, op-eds in the Times, even a spot on The View where Whoopi hugged him and whispered, "Proud of you, son." But glory felt hollow without resolution. Victor and Elaine Harper hadn't vanished again. A certified letter arrived days after the trial, postmarked Orlando. We saw the news. Can we talk? For closure. Alex crumpled it, tossing it into the recycling with yesterday's drafts. Closure? Like sealing a wound without stitches. Jordan, ever the mediator, found him later at the loft, staring out at the glittering chaos. "Burning bridges is your specialty," Jordan teased gently, wrapping arms around Alex from behind, chin on his shoulder. "But what if this one's worth crossing?" "You're one to talk, Mr. Legacy Drama." Alex leaned back, letting Jordan's warmth seep in. Their reconciliation had been slow, deliberate nights of raw talks over candlelit dinners. Jordan handing over old foundation ledgers as proof of his clean break. Trust rebuilt brick by vulnerable brick. "Touché." Jordan kissed his neck, soft and lingering. "But think about it. Not for them, for you. You're the one who restores truths. Remember." The word gnawed at Alex through strategy sessions and holiday prep. Jordan dragged him to Thanksgiving at his aunt's in the Bronx. Tables groaning with pernil and plantains, cousins ribbing Jordan about the lawyer who stole your heart. Laughter filled the brownstone, a balm against Alex's ghosts. "See," Jordan murmured as they washed dishes side by side, suds bubbling like secrets shared. "Family's what you make it." By December, Alex relented. They met at a neutral ground, a quiet diner off Times Square, neon buzzing like fireflies in the dusk. Victor looked smaller than memory. Stooped shoulders, liver-spotted hands fidgeting with a napkin. Elaine sat ramrod straight, pearls choking her like guilt. No hugs, just coffee steaming between them. "We didn't come to beg forgiveness," Victor started, voice gravelly from disuse. "We came because, God, Alex, that night." He swallowed hard. "Your mother and I, we were scared. The church, the neighbors. It felt like the devil himself had taken our boy." Elaine reached across, tentative. "We called the cops, said you ran away. Easier than admitting we'd hurt you. They took our word, middle-class whites, churchgoers. No questions." Alex's pulse thrummed, rage and pity warring. "Easier? I was bleeding alone. You erased me to save face." Tears tracked Elaine's cheeks. "We were wrong. Horribly. When we saw the trial. It broke us open. We've been in therapy, Alex. Trying to understand." Jordan's hand found Alex's under the table. A steady pulse. He squeezed, grounding. "And now," Alex pressed, voice a blade sheathed in calm. "The city's digging up those files. Reparations mean audits. Your names will surface." Victor nodded, eyes downcast. "We know. We're turning ourselves in. Full statement to the DA. Whatever it takes to make it right." Silence stretched, heavy as the snow beginning to fall outside. Alex searched their faces, wrinkled maps of regret, and saw not monsters, but humans, flawed as the system that shielded them. "I don't know if I can forgive," he said finally, "but I won't let you define me anymore." They left it there, promises of affidavits and amends hanging like fragile ornaments. Outside, snow blanketed the streets, muting the holiday frenzy. Jordan pulled Alex close, breath fogging in the cold. "You did it. Truth restored." "Not yet," Alex murmured, but the weight had lifted, just a fraction. The holidays unfolded like a dream deferred. Jordan's family folded Alex in. New Year's Eve on a rooftop, fireworks bursting over the bridge like stars reclaiming the sky. They talked futures. A shared apartment in Chelsea, maybe adopting a rescue dog, Jordan's art mingling with Alex's law books. Romance deepened in quiet moments. A surprise weekend in the Catskills, cabin fires and stargazing, Jordan's fingers laced with Alex's as they whispered dreams. "Marry me," Jordan joked one night, twirling a daisy chain from wildflowers. Alex laughed, but the seed took root. January brought the audit hearings, a quieter coda to the trial. Alex testified remotely, Jordan at his side in the Zoom frame, their apartment a cozy backdrop of bookshelves and half-finished canvases. Victor and Elaine's statements landed like aftershocks. Admissions of abuse, cover-up, a plea for leniency in exchange for community service at youth shelters. The city settled deeper, funds allocated for counseling centers named after erased names, including Alex's. But conflict simmered beneath the surface. Whispers in the ACLU halls. Harper's too close to this. Bias? A rival attorney, slick as oil, leaked doubts to the press. Personal vendetta or justice? Alex felt the noose tightening, late nights blurring into paranoia. Jordan noticed, pulling him from the desk with firm hands. "You're fighting the wrong battle," he'd say, leading Alex to the park for runs that cleared the cobwebs. "This isn't about them anymore. It's us." One evening, as cherry blossoms defied the chill, early harbingers in the botanic garden, Jordan dropped to one knee, not with a daisy but a simple silver band, etched with a compass rose to match Alex's tattoo. "No jokes this time," he said, voice thick with emotion. "Marry me, Alex. Let's build the truth together." Tears blurred the petals. "Yes," Alex breathed, pulling Jordan up into a kiss that tasted of forever. The wedding planning became their rebellion. A small ceremony in Central Park, under that same reservoir where Jordan had sketched him. Invites went to the aunties, the cousins, Mia, and the ACLU crew. Tentatively to Elaine. Victor had passed in his sleep the month prior, heart giving out like a man unburdened. She came, eyes shining, a quilt handmade from Alex's childhood clothes draped over her lap. "For your new home," she whispered, and Alex hugged her, the embrace a bridge half-crossed. Yet the climax crested unexpectedly, on the eve of the vows. Package arrived at the loft, anonymous, heavy. Inside, a battered journal, Victor's handwriting scrawled across the leather. Pages chronicled the aftermath. Elaine's breakdowns, Victor's benders. A desperate search for Alex traced through hospitals and shelters, thwarted by shame. The final entry. "If he hates us, he should. But tell him we loved him wrong, but we loved him. Always." Alex read it aloud to Jordan by lamplight, voice breaking on the edges. "Betrayal's a two-way street," he said, closing the book. "They betrayed me. I betrayed myself by carrying it so long." Jordan cupped his face, thumbs brushing tears. "And now? You're free." Dawn broke golden, the ceremony unfolding like poetry. Alex in a tailored gray suit, Jordan in earthy linen, hands joined under an arch of wildflowers. Vows exchanged, promises of storms weathered, truths upheld. Elaine in the front row, clutching the quilt, her nod a silent absolution. As they kissed, the park crowd erupted, cheers mingling with birdsong. Alex pulled back, forehead to Jordan's. "This is the restoration," he whispered. "Us." Spring unfurled across the city like a long-held breath released, dogwoods blooming in profusion along the avenues, their petals a confetti of second chances. Alex and Jordan's life settled into a harmony of contrasts, the sharp angles of legal briefs yielding to the fluid strokes of Jordan's brushes, quiet mornings in their Chelsea walk-up giving way to raucous game nights with friends who felt like chosen kin. The wedding band on Alex's finger caught the light often, a talisman against the doubts that still whispered in quiet hours. "Eternity looks good on you," Jordan would say, stealing kisses over breakfast bagels, his hazel eyes alight with that same fire that had drawn Alex from the shadows. The restoration rippled outward. With the audit funds, Alex spearheaded the Erased Voices Initiative, a network of clinics and legal aid hubs from Queens to the Bronx, places where kids like 16-year-old him could walk in bleeding and walk out whole. He spoke at the ribbon cutting for the first one, a squat brick building in Flushing, Jordan at his side with a mural fresh on the wall. Intertwined figures rising from cracked pavement, hands outstretched to a dawn sky. "This isn't just about me," Alex told the crowd, voice carrying over the snip of scissors and cheers. "It's about every name the city tried to bury. We're unearthing them, one truth at a time." Elaine became a fixture, tentative at first, Sunday brunches where she'd bring lemon bars and stories of Alex's baby days, photos pulled from albums she'd kept hidden. "You were always drawing, even then," she'd say to Jordan, who nodded eagerly, sketching her profile on a napkin. Forgiveness wasn't a switch flipped. It was a garden tended, weeds pulled one by one. But in her eyes, Alex saw the mother he'd mourned, reclaimed. Jordan's art flourished in the wake of it all. His next exhibit, Lines of Return, sold out in hours. Canvases of fractured families mending, urban landscapes where shadows birthed light. Critics raved. Reyes captures the queer American soul with unflinching romance. One night, post-opening, they wandered home arm in arm, tipsy on champagne and triumph. To us, Jordan toasted with a street vendor hot dog, mustard dripping comically. Alex laughed, the sound free and full, wiping it from Jordan's chin with a thumb. To truths worth bleeding for. But life, that great dramatist, wasn't done twisting the knife. It came in June, humid and unrelenting. During a routine checkup Alex had delayed too long. The doctor's face, usually a mask of professional blandness, cracked. It's stage 2 Hodgkin's. Caught early, treatable. But we need to start chemo now. The word landed like a verdict Alex couldn't appeal. Cancer. After the fists, the files, the fights, now this? Jordan held him in the exam room. Silent tears soaking Alex's shirt. His broad frame a bulwark. We'll beat it, Jordan vowed, voice fierce. Together. Treatment blurred the summer. Infusions that left Alex queasy and bald. Nights where pain clawed deeper than any boot. Jordan shaved his own head in solidarity. The clippers buzzing like a vow. Their reflections in the mirror, 2 warriors, stripped bare. Friends rallied, Mia with care packages of ginger tea. Elaine with homemade soups that fortified more than body. Alex's world shrank to the loft's 4 walls, then expanded through Jordan's stories. Updates on the initiative, sketches of their future post-remission. A road trip down Route 66. Rings exchanged under desert stars. The conflict peaked in August, a fever dream of doubt. Delirious from meds, Alex lashed out one night, Jordan dozing in the armchair beside the bed. You should go, he rasped, the old fear surfacing like bile. I'm broken goods. Again. Jordan's eyes snapped open, hurt flashing before resolve. Never. He climbed onto the bed, gathering Alex close, heartbeat to heartbeat. You think this changes us? Love isn't conditional, Alex. It's the fight. In that vulnerability, the betrayal of body met the betrayal of past, forging something unbreakable. Alex wept, not for loss, but for the grace of being held through it. Remission came in October, scans clean as a fresh canvas. The doctor high-fived them, Jordan whooping like they'd won the Super Bowl. Alex stepped into the autumn air feeling reborn. The city a symphony of possibility. Leaves crunching underfoot, vendors hawking roasted chestnuts, Jordan's hand warm in his. They marked it with a pilgrimage. Back to that alley in Queens, now gentrified with coffee shops and bike lanes, but the concrete still held echoes. Alex knelt, pressing a hand to the ground where his blood had pooled. Thank you, he whispered. To the boy who'd survived, to the city that had tried to break him. Jordan stood watch, then pulled a small plaque from his bag. Here, a truth was born. H and Jr. They affixed it to the wall, a quiet monument. Humanistic as hell, Jordan quipped, but his voice caught. The years unfolded gently after that. The initiative grew, chapters sprouting in Chicago, L.A., Alex the architect, Jordan the illustrator. Elaine passed peacefully at 82. Her quilt draped over Alex's shoulders at the funeral. A final embrace. They adopted Milo, a scruffy mutt from the shelter, who claimed the foot of their bed with joyous abandon. On their 10th anniversary, they returned to the Catskills cabin, snow blanketing the pines like forgiveness. By the fire, Jordan pulled out a sketch pad, pages filled with their life. The wedding kiss, chemo solidarity, the alley plaque. Our story, he said, handing it over. Alex traced the lines, emotion swelling. From bleeding to this, we restored it all. Jordan drew him close, lips meeting in a kiss that spanned the scars. And it's just the beginning. In the end, it wasn't triumph or tragedy, but the quiet humanism of 2 men choosing each other, day after flawed day. The city moved on, headlines fading, but their truth endured, etched in hearts, in art, in the unyielding pulse of love against the world's rough edges. Alex Harper, once left bleeding, had made the city restore not just his story, but the soul of a nation willing to listen.